Holiday greetings from Fated Crossings. My name is Stephen, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about the moon in Leo. In the last installment, I spoke about the moon in Aries, and so today I'd kind of like to talk about how you can differentiate meaningfully between these two moons, because all of the moons in fire signs, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, are going to be unified by a couple of generic traits. So they're all going to be very independent. They're all going to be proud, dignified, noble personalities, magnanimous, gallant personalities. They're all going to be rather quick and decisive, not really overthinking things, but just jumping in and taking action 9 times out of 10. So these are all common traits of the fire signs. So how do we meaningfully differentiate them? Well, through the mode. And in a future video, I will have a lot to say about how we can usefully think about signs in terms of their elements and their modes. This is probably the most useful way to perceive the signs, and it will certainly help us here because we can differentiate between the Aries moon and the Leo moon in terms of the differences between cardinality and fixity. The Aries moon, of course, is cardinal, and so it's always going to be impatient. It's going to be starting a lot of things and perhaps not finishing them. Whereas the Leo moon, because of its fixed nature, is going to be a lot more methodical, a lot more organized. All of the fixed signs are methodical and organized, including Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. The fixity of these signs make them all need to feel in control. Now, what does fixity do? What do the fixed signs do? They pull energies into themselves to strengthen themselves. And the substance of the element becomes an internal source of power. So all of the fixed signs hoard the things of their element. Taurus hoards material stuff. And if you don't believe me, just take a look in their shoe closet. You'll see like 24 pairs of shoes that are all practically the same color. Aquarius, it hoards knowledge. It hoards the air element and becomes a treasury, a warehouse of information and knowledge. Scorpio hoards secrets, maybe even tears. Leo, and the moon in Leo especially, is going to hoard attention, praise, accolades, awards, because of its fixity. It's going to have a desire for hoarding these fiery things, whereas the Aries moon will not be so retentive. But the Leo moon, because it's fixed, is going to be more stable than the Aries moon. It's going to be more reliable, steadier, and is going to have more endurance and stamina to complete projects. It's blessed with stamina. In fact, it's so blessed with stamina that Leo moons can often become very obstinate, stubborn, because of their strong desire nature. But at the same time, the fixed nature of this moon makes it a little bit more reliable, makes it a little bit more stable. And it allows the Leo moon to focus better, to concentrate on something long and hard, to be monomaniacal or single-minded in its purpose when it's going after what it desires. And this all comes about, this dogged pursuit of its desires comes about because Leo is a fixed sign. Very uncompromising, does not yield. And as a result of this fixity, more so than with the Aries or the Sagittarius moon, power struggles can develop with the Leo moon person. They can find themselves involved in stalemate situations where nobody can win, where there's a gridlock between conflicting forces. And these power struggles come about because of the moon in Leo being so fixed. You cannot force these people to submit. They will not kowtow or bow down to you or anybody else. Now, with that said, they're famous for radiating warmth and being very entertaining and cheerful, having an enthusiasm about their loves that never wavers, that is very steady. Passions last a long time and not quite as impulsive as the Aries moon. Leo moon does not give in to fleeting impulses as easily as the Aries moon does, and probably is capable of a little bit more staying power in relationship. It's more loyal, you might say, although on the downside, it can be quite bossy. And, I think this comes about because people with the moon in Leo, they get very attached to their identities. That's their defense mechanism. Leo wants things to last forever. And hence the great weakness for this sign. Nothing lasts forever. And when Moon in Leo realizes this, then a lot of ego insecurity can result. So the person throughout a chain of past existences has become very attached to their identity. They have been kind of a big deal around here in lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and their soul gets attached to that attention. Their soul gets attached to that elevated status in their community. And so when they're born in this lifetime, it just comes as a matter of course. I expect this special treatment. And it can lead to the classic Leo weakness of overvaluing the self, overestimating the self. And it's just because of a soul attachment. So the advice to Moon in Leo, or really any kind of Leo placement, is to detach from the identity a little bit. You're not here to have a love affair with yourself. And even though you might be more special than a lot of people, at the end of the day, you still have to surrender everything and enter into the void like everybody else. And again, this is the big fear of Leo, because they have such a natural joie de vivre. They love life so much that they just would love to just keep on living forever, perhaps more so than the average person would. But, with that said, they are also very generous to other people. Even though they're kind of self-preoccupied, they're still capable of extraordinary compassion to others. Perhaps Leo is even more compassionate than Sagittarius. And I think this comes about because Leo is ruled by the sun. In fact, there are quite a few similarities between Cancer and Leo because they are both ruled by the luminaries. Cancer is ruled by the moon, Leo is ruled by the sun. And these luminaries, sun and moon, are said to flow. Their natures flow forth. And I think this is what's responsible for the greater emotionality of Leo versus the other fire signs. It's, again, very similar to Cancer in its emotional needs and in its emotional expression. And they're very compassionate. They love to help others. Moon in Leo wants to nurture people with its warmth. It wants to flow outward and let other people warm themselves on it. However, even though they are very generous to other people, they are not interested in long-term dependency. So they don't want any scenarios where someone will be dependent on them long-term. They want other people to be self-reliant just like they are, usually. So Moon in Leo, very effervescent and bubbly, even if other chart factors contradict this, even if they got a lot of water or, a strong Saturn or other factors that might lean them to introversion. Nevertheless, they are still going to have an effervescent, bubbly personality because of Leo, because of the moon, because the moon gives them an instinct for entertaining people, an instinct for getting attention. And so they're usually going to be quite popular and have a lot of admirers. And one thing they have in common, one thing Leo has in common with Taurus, is a desire for luxury. So Moon in Leo really does know how to live and wants the finer things of life to come to it, wants to go after the finer things in life, just like Taurus does. And I think this is because Leo will never find a good reason to deny itself anything that it wants. So there is a craving for pleasure, a craving for amusement with the Moon in Leo. And because of the focus on the self, a lot of times there can be some snobbery and some vanity, Leo knows it's kind of a big deal around here. And so there is, again, sort of a love affair with the self. But from the traditional perspective, this is a very fortunate placement. The medieval astrologer would say that someone born with the moon in Leo is going to have a happy life, a good life. And they are going to mix it up with people who have a lot of power, kings, princes, sultans, etc., dukes, caliphs, people who run things. The moon in Leo is going to be surrounded by people in their community who have some clout. And so it's generally considered to be a very, very fortunate placement. So if you have a moon in Leo, then the advice, once again, would be, first of all, to realize that your identity is not going to last forever, that at some point you're going to have to give it up. I mean, philosophically speaking, we could really argue whether or not any of us actually exists at all. We're only here for such a short time, and it seems kind of futile to really get attached to one's identity, especially when you have to surrender it after only a few decades. So that's advice number one. Advice number two is, again, watch out for people who want to flatter you, because by doing so, they will definitely get a sort of power over you. So you have to watch out for sycophants and butt kissers, to put it bluntly. But a great placement, and normally these people are wonderful to be around, and they will be friends for life. Very loyal, and also quite reliable. You can count on them to do what they say they're going to do. They will keep their word. So that's all I have to say about the moon in Leo. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next installment dealing with the moon in Sagittarius.